Here's your warning, and hopefully
Yeah, I watched
they
that.
work.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, I got some.
He got some.
Let me see if they work.
It was bad. Not in his, her house. Chimney swept.
Okay, it works.
Woohoo.
The video and the sound finally are back operational.
You may never take off again.
Was it me?
Scott
Kevin,
blows it
Kevin
up
was
every
my
time.
witness. Kevin, we did everything we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's finicky. It's a finicky system.
Birdhouse.
I like it.
Still blowing up.
Hey, what's Kevin know about it? He's
He
in
just said
movies.
push a button.
He's moral support. Did I say you tried it?
Sometimes you have to.
I heard that was a bird bong.
Good thing the mic's in the corner.
The mic is recording.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Mine.
I wouldn't know anything about it.
I don't know, I wouldn't recognize his voice if I just heard it, so I'd be okay.
I didn't mention it.
6 o'clock.
It's 6 o'clock too.
Close enough.
6 o'clock, I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could please remain standing for a brief moment of silence to commemorate the 24th anniversary of 9/11, which will be this coming Thursday. Thank you.
There's my memorial. Pig farm. 9/11, Thanksgiving.
You can make a correction.
It's not gonna be in the minutes. That's
I
why
have
she
a roll
has.
call for attendance. Susan Clark,
Present.
Scott Podolsky is here, Luann Homa,
Here.
Kevin Bertocchi,
Here.
Brian Nolan,
Present.
Ray Kerr,
Here.
Maggie Smith,
Here.
and Mayor Bob Lang.
Here.
Borough Solicitor Eric D.
Here.
Borough Manager Dwight Bodorf.
Here.
Code Enforcement Officer Anthony Bruni is absent with cause. And representing the Police Department, Jeremy Howe.
Here.
All right, presentations, no presentations on the agenda, but do we have kind of a presentation?
Mr. Bonner's gonna go at the end, so Maggie has an update, and then he'll go at the end in the comments specifically, so we're in compliance with the sunshine law since some of this information came in today. In order for it to be technically on the agenda as an action item, it needs to be 24 hours in advance, but that does not mean that Mr. Bonner cannot comment and tell us what is going on and what we can do for the next council meeting as an official action item.
Perfect. So, it takes us to the first citizens comment section. Reminder, we have 2 citizens comment sections. The first one we reserve for anything that is on the current agenda. If you need a copy of the agenda, they are on the table back in the corner by the back door where you signed in.
Nothing to sign in.
I'm sorry?
No paper.
I printed it. Sorry, I'm losing my mind today.
It's been that kind of day today.
Anyways, the agendas are back there.
No,
Sign in when you leave.
I will get it because we have to have a record.
Sign in, so yeah, sign out when you leave.
Anyways, the agendas are back there. This first citizens comment section is reserved for anything that is on the agenda. Reminder, we do offer it a second time, which is all the way at the end, the very last thing before we ask for a motion to adjourn. That being said, if you have any comment for anything that is on the agenda, we please ask that you stand and state your name and address for public record. Reminder, we have a 3-minute time limit. The sign-in sheet Dwight is putting back there, no rush now, you can do it on your way out. All right, so, citizens comment section number 1, we're gonna start with Cindy and snake around the room. Anything on the agenda?
No.
Later. Mr. Bonner, no. Young lady? Chuck, Mrs. Chuck, no. No. Mr. James?
Yes.
Wow.
All right.
I'm ready.
Brad, Eureka, we're reminding everyone that October 5th to the 11th is fire prevention. This year's theme is Charge into Fire Safety with an emphasis on lithium-ion batteries. So the lithium-ion technology is all surpassing all of us, but it is a big deal. So do your due diligence, urge your family members to do their due diligence with their lithium-ion battery devices, toys, laptops, things like that. That was a PSA.
Good reminder. Thank you, sir. We had no exceptions to the open meeting law since our last meeting in August. The August 12th, 2025 minutes have been disseminated and posted. Can I have a motion to approve the 8/12/2025 regular meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Ray on the first, Brian on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously, 7-0.
I just want to clarify something too. We post the motion or the meeting minutes after they've been approved, not before. So once this is approved, then it will go back up online in case there needs to be any corrections or anything that we need to make.
Perfect. Communications, no communications have come, oh wait, I
That
apologize.
came in today.
We have one communication that has came in today, from the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry. It is addressed to me as President Chairperson of Toronto Borough.
Let me summarize it.
Yeah, in accordance with the Uniform Construction Code, a 5-year audit was performed on April 21st, 2025. Names the auditor to determine if adequate administration and enforcement of the accessibility requirements of the Uniform Construction Code is occurring in Trenton Borough. The previous 5-year audit review was completed in July of 2020. It was determined that the Code Enforcement Department had satisfactorily complied with the UCC accessibility and administrative regulations, and it lists some projects. It is important that you and the building code officer bear in mind the following. Primary purpose for the accessibility audit program is to point out issues in enforcement of accessibility requirements. The department does not intend that the information contained in this report will be used on a basis for a disciplinary action if needed. The information contained herein is not intended to be a cause for remediation of the issues discovered in the building subject to the audit. And again, the issues identified in this audit may be different from those discussed with the code official who accompanied our auditor during the audit due to an internal audit review. So,
It was satisfactory.
satisfactory, which is what we want. One project was involved in the audit. Talks about the Bertner Apartments remodel located at 524 to 527 Fifth Avenue. That was the big thing that they looked at, is the occupancy permit. Lists some information about the accessibility plan that was performed by the name of the auditor, his certification number. The certificate of occupancy for this project was issued on December 14th, 2023. The department has determined that the Trenton Borough Township, we'll forgive them for that. Trenton Borough has completed this 5-year follow-up audit. We are satisfactory. The department appreciates the effort of the municipality and all involved. So we are not due again until 2030. So kudos to Anthony and the rest of everybody involved, Public Works and everybody else that had a hand in this, so. Satisfactory, that's what we want. All right, committee reports, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, for both boroughs, criminals were busy last month. We had 52 major crimes in both boroughs. Accidents, hit and runs, assaults, burglaries, criminal mischief, domestic disturbances, fights, robberies, sexual assault, terroristic threats, trespassing, and warrants. Total for both boroughs for calls was 245, and our crime fighters arrested 31 people last month. On view were 8, summonses was 11, warrant arrests was 12 for a total of 31. There was 11 traffic citations issued and 4 non-traffic. And great job to the police department for catching the bad guys. So,
Excellent.
thank you.
Thank you. President's report.
Nothing.
I know, that's what happens when you sit in traffic for 2 hours.
You should have been right in the car.
I know. Short and sweet, I attended the ALOM Board of Directors quarterly meeting last Thursday, September 4th. One of the big things that we have been discussing for probably, I don't know, at least 2 years, you mentioned the Sunshine Law and all of that good stuff earlier in this meeting. We are actually one of the few municipalities that has a paper that runs daily. So it doesn't it pertains to us because we still have to follow the law, but we are fortunate in the fact that we have the Valley right here, and also that we have a manager that knows the law and follows the law with the Sunshine Act. But there are a lot of municipalities that don't have, right now, the law is stated that it has to be in a print form because the law is 150 bazillion years old. Papers like the Post-Gazette paper, some of these other local papers only publish 1 day a week, 2 days a week. So for us, we're lucky that he can do it on a Monday because they print on Monday. If he were to do something online, and whatever you do online doesn't count. So the ALOM has been pushing and lobbying for at least 2 to 3 years to try to get some type of bill in front of the Pennsylvania House and Senate to change that to simply go from print to print and/or electric media, et cetera. Some of the municipalities that don't have a Valley, if you use us as an example, our meeting is on a Tuesday, so he's got to do it by Monday at 6 o'clock because we have a written paper. If a municipality doesn't have a paper on Monday, that he's making an agenda 3, 4, 5, 6 days in advance. Tonight, we had something that came up, so we're pushing it to the end. So if something comes up in that window, it doesn't make sense. That being said, they have finally gotten enough support from some important people, so it is actually on the floor currently in, I guess it's the House first in Pennsylvania and Harrisburg. Hoping to move it through to honestly simply add electric media as a way to advertise public meetings and just information. To me, it seems like a no-brainer, but it's kind of cool to think that we started something 2-3 years ago. It's also frustrating to know that it takes 3 years to get something as simple as that, have even somebody pay attention to it. But for us, it was kind of a big deal. The next meeting would be in November, and then they have their annual kind of Christmas gathering kind of thing in December. So once I get some date, the one in December is open to everybody. So once I get some information for that, I will pass it along. That being said, I will keep it short and sweet. And move on to Eric for the solicitor report.
No report.
Oh, my.
That's short and sweet.
Way to show me up, thanks.
You could have just gone.
Jeremy, anything on behalf of the police department?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Bruni is not here, but you will see a link that Cindy can click on, the monthly report is linked
Yeah, right.
for August of 2025. Engineer report, that is also leak. It's the end of summer, so there's a reminder about draining your pool, making sure we're not putting all the chemical water and all of that junk. Make sure you're taking care of that before you put it out for the general public to get everywhere it's not supposed to be. Dwight, manager report.
Yep, and I do need, so the printed paper did have this removed, the agenda, the night market, but the online one, really a minor difference, but obviously it's past August 14th, so I did remove that from the printed one. As far as finance updates, so we are waiting on the auditor to finish out the annual reports. They started in April, so it's being a bit delayed. They have quite a few customers. We use Turnley. They have about half the municipalities in Allegheny County, Washington, Beaver, and I believe some in Westmoreland as well. So they keep themselves quite busy, but it will be done certainly in time for the state. And the other thing that is going on with finances, of course, as I talked about previously, and we start every time this year, is the budget preparations for 2026. As everyone can expect, utilities are a big focus as they are in every year. On our water side, our distribution pipes are at the end of their 100-year life cycle. Anybody that's been to any of these meetings has heard me talk about this for 3 years now. We did start restructuring and combining parts of the system. This staff, we went, as a reminder, last year, we went from 3 shifts down to 2 shifts down at the water plant to cut down on overtime, and also because we are no longer a town of 12,000 residents. We've also emphasized cross-training staff, making sure that any of our new staff members that come into the water system get a distributions license. Previously, we had one person that had a license. So under a water break, if that one person wasn't available, then we were running into compliance issues with somebody who required to have that license. Right now, we have 3 people that have the license, and we have another 3 that are either training or they're getting ready to test to give ourselves, make sure that we have backup and redundancy as needed for the water system. And you're going to hear me talk a little bit more about the water system later on and kind of why. And I don't want to skip ahead. So on the electric side, as most people know, if you've read anything in the paper, not only here locally, but 13 states and really across the nation, demand and supply costs have gone up. Unfortunately, they're going to keep going up. So Pennsylvania, PJM, which is the organization that governs 13 states about how transmission is handled, they do auctions periodically to determine what the cost is going to be for future years. So think supply and demand, right? There is more demand than there's ever been. Many people are attributing it to data centers and a combination of other things. I am not an expert in that manner, so I can't say for certain that that is the cause. What we do know is the costs are going up. So they held an auction 2 years ago, which is impacting everyone for this year, and then they just held another auction in June that's going to hit for next June. And unfortunately, it hit the cap, so the highest that's legally allowed to go under Pennsylvania and the PJM standards at $329 per megawatt. So right now, we're paying $283 per megawatt. The year before that, we were paying $28. So it has jumped significantly. They are looking at it at the state level, at the national level. The organizations that we belong to for American Municipal Power are advocating for changes in how those calculations are done, maybe forcing some of the power plants to run a little bit longer. There was for quite some time a focus on renewables and adding the mix in. Some of that priority and policy has changed, so we'll have to see how that shakes out. That all being said, we did our best in advance to kind of spread it out over the next couple of years instead of major cost increase all at once. That included switching suppliers this year to save money for a significant amount of time. We've also done a lot of the more traditional outsource work in-house. We're still working to bring the lineman role back in-house. Anybody that's been in Toronto long enough to know that we used to have the linemen in-house. They used to be borough staff members. They have not been borough staff members in, help me out here, 10, 12, 15 years?
Probably about 12 or 15.
And why that's important that we're looking at it. So the going rate in the region for a lineman with benefits is about $90, $92 per hour. Tarentum Borough, under our contract that we've had for several years with Schulteis, is paying $165 an hour for a single lineman. There are other details that are a little more complicated than just the lineman. You have the union contracts, you have the equipment, the materials, the IBEW. There's a lot that goes into it. We are not alone. There are, Pitcairn to the south of us, the only other one in Allegheny County, are in a similar boat doing something in a similar fashion. So we are looking at all assets or avenues. Can we do it? And if we can do it, at what cost, and is it going to be a benefit? One of the biggest things that we need to make sure of that if we do move that in-house and we bring a second lineman on board is making sure that in emergency outages, that if those two are unavailable, that we can still call out to somebody to bring in additional support. Our contract right now, even though we have one lineman every day, does cover that. The cost is significant. We have an outage, the lineman isn't available, we're paying upwards of $325 an hour. But you have to have electricity, and so there are things that we're working on with that. In addition, negotiating the contract itself IT, meter work, it's all very specialized. We are one of 35 in Pennsylvania that's doing this work. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of outside agencies that we can go to, and the few that there are, they command pretty high prices. The consultant that we used to pay for just the electrical contract to help us secure supply is $255 an hour. So we are looking at everything that we can to keep the cost reasonable and down, and to make sure that it's consolidated. Either way, the borough is making a strong effort to stay ahead of repairs and long-term planning for our utilities. Part of that is spreading out rate increases gradually over 4 to 5 years, like we put in place last year for the electric system, and I will recommend later on to do something similar for the water system, freezing residential rates, but then slowly, incrementally bringing up some of the corporate and commercial rates. Before I get too far down into it, for context, residents are paying about $13 per 1,000 gallons. The commercial properties are paying about $8.35. So there's a disparity there that I believe that we need to look at and address. And the major difference between that and electric is, although the electric rates for the commercial properties are a little bit lower, electric has what's called demand, right? So they have demand meters. So if you're pulling in a whole bunch of electricity all at once, we have a way to capture that additional stress on the system, and they have to pay an additional fee. We don't have that for water. They do make meters that essentially are demand meters for water. Our meters are not those meters. We could upgrade and we could match it with electric, but to do that upgrade and replace all of the water meters in town would be a significant cost. The American Water Association recommends that in absence of doing that you actually have a flat fee, that everybody pays the same regardless of usage, and then you have, for the actual water usage, and then you have a fixed cost depending on the meter size. So if you're a resident, you pay, $9 a month for your fixed cost for helping to keep up the pipes and distributions, because your line usage, the theory is it's small. It's not putting as much stress on the system because you're not drawing that much in. If you're a commercial property, not that we have anyone here that's doing this much work, but if they are pulling in 10 swimming pools a minute, right, they're putting a lot more pressure and stress on the infrastructure. We have to buy bigger pipes. There's other things that come with that. Right now, we don't really have a way to make up for that cost, and you could argue that the residents are subsidizing some of the commercial properties. I'm not saying that's what's going on, but you could make that argument. The American Water Association has done a lot of research into this and about different ways that you can do it, but I do believe Trenton needs to look at it specifically because we have 13 miles of our water pipe that needs replaced. Last, we benchmarked with the DEP and the engineers, it's going to cost somewhere between $20 and $30 million to replace those lines. We have multiple failures per year for the water lines. I'm hoping to get us to a place, it would be ideal if we could just replace all the lines at once, but frankly, Tarentum doesn't have that kind of money. So the other way to look at it is to do as much replacement every year as we can of so many linear feet of water pipe, strategically. And so some of the other things that we started doing is you get into this question about, well, which lines do you replace first? If you're not going to replace all the lines at once, how do you know which lines to replace first? We know through our water system and our records and through Public Works that there are some lines that are much worse than others. We know that Davidson needs replaced. We know that's where we're getting our water violations. We know West 11th. After you replace those 3 lines, now you've got another 12 miles of line. Which ones do we replace first? How do we know? It's, kind of like aiming in the dark for a dartboard. So if council remembers, a couple months ago, we had asked to purchase some acoustic noise detectors, which is what you see here on this screen. And so what these do is this logs potential leaks at night based off of sound. We purchased 9 of these, and what we have been doing is we've been rotating 3 around in a grid, 4 in each ward. And so we rotate these weekly so that we can start collecting data on where there's not major leaks, but there's minor and medium leaks. When there's a major leak, we typically know about it. You know, Miss Iola will call us and say, hey, there's water spewing out of the stuff, and we know that, right? So we can go fix that. It's all those minor and those medium leaks that we don't need. So the theory that we've been playing around with is where we're getting a bunch of these red marks here over a year. Those are the streets that if in a year that we have multiple red lines of small to medium leaks that we need to place on a higher priority for replacing so that we can do smarter targeted replacement. In addition to, we also have pressure meters coming, which will give us pressure zones for the areas, right? And so that's just one. And so what we're doing, and excuse me, I'm gonna get up and show everybody here. So the reason that we're placing these in clusters is when you see a little red mark right here, it's not pinpointed exactly where it's at. It's within about 100 feet of any way, north, south, east, west. So if we were just to place one, we'd have no idea if it was over here, 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 or here. And so part of the reason that we've been doing 3 is so that we can better have an idea of where the leaks are at and then go out with the, it's like a metal detector. You can go out and you can actually like hear where the leaks are at so that we can better pinpoint these. And like I said, we're rotating these around essentially block by block so that we can figure out where some of the leaks are. The only other way to do this that we believe, and we've talked to a couple of experts, a few other people, would be either to camera all of the lines in town or to bring in leak detection from a bigger company several times throughout the years. It would be very costly. So we're trying to build an in-house method that we can figure out where the most likely the leaks are that we need to replace to keep costs down so that we can push that towards actual line replacement and not wasting it on consultants. So that's my spiel in a nutshell, and then when we get down to the actual resolution, we can discuss it a little bit more in depth. Other than that, which I know is a lot, Council last meeting discussed some of the tree trimming in the park. Again, thank you to Mr. Bonner for coming out with Public Works to kind of help identify. So that will go on in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's a little weather dependent on the folks. So there's a couple of branches that they're going to remove and then a handful of trees, unfortunately, that do need to be removed due to safety reasons. Fortunately, we have an EAC committee that can help us if and when we're ready to replant trees, the appropriate types of trees in there. Not every town has an active EAC or shade tree commission. The other thing that is going on in the park is the park signs. So we made a couple of upgrades over the last couple of years, making sure that the benches were up to snuff, that we repaired the statue, the fountain in town to make sure that it works. Next on the list is the park signs. They're a little old. The rec board is able and willing to replace the signs at their cost as long as Public Works puts them in, which I think is great. So they are going to come with some designs and some costs for council to consider. The work doesn't need to be done right now, but certainly before, next summer, next spring, we should be able to get everything done and installed. Other than that, all of the normal links are on there for Allegheny County Council, the newsletter, some updates from the League Link, and then, of course, the sheriff sells bids and lists that are there every month. That is enough for now.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Moving down to the business section, we do have one item of postponed business that we didn't discuss last month, because we didn't want to discuss it without you. I mean, we discussed it briefly, but we wanted to wait until you were here, and that was the discussion on street closures. And we talked briefly about just past practice, doing things for some of the businesses, especially locally right here, versus when different people would ask to have a block party or a specific event. And I know you were looking to have a discussion, and Bob, we talked about it, Bill's concerns with the police side and just, an open discussion. So we postponed it to this meeting So everybody was available just to, voice concerns and comments and.
Yeah, I'm just looking to council for some direction on consistency. We have told some businesses, yes, they can have a road closure for a street party, but we've told other ones no. We've told some residents no. We've told others yes if it's down on First Avenue. So a policy would be great, not only to help this staff, but more importantly, help the residents understand what's appropriate. Many different towns do it in different ways. It's no secret, I live in Bellevue. How Bellevue handles theirs is to minimize costs for the municipality, but also to ensure that residents, have that option. My street does a block party every year. We have to get a permit from the municipality. We have to essentially put down a deposit, and then Public Works comes out on Friday during their normal hours, and they leave the barricades on the street. And it's up to us during the permitted hours to move them onto the street as to not cost them money, but also to make sure that that barricade isn't damaged, that we're not costing the municipality, but still allows the street for closure. There are some municipalities that don't allow it all because for emergency vehicles and things like that need to get through. There are others that limit it to a certain area of town, like First Avenue. I'm really have no opinion on this one way or other than just for some sort of policy that we can enforce.
I would think it would be on certain particular days, like a Sunday, if it could all be uniform, like on a Sunday where it's not real busy traffic-wise, or, for everybody, for all the residents that want to have a block party. I think it should be a specific day, like a Sunday or something.
Yeah, set on a weekend.
When you mean a block party, are you meaning like a block party for the whole town or just for the street?
For the street, if a resident wants to hold a block party, I think it should be on a Sunday where it's pretty quiet on Sundays during the day, I know in the past, when I was a police officer, Sundays were pretty quiet, but he would know more about that, he's still fighting.
Some days are just like the other days of the week anymore. I think if you're gonna do something, I think you need a specific day, and then you also have to have specific times. You can't say like 12 to 9 o'clock at night. It has to be done during the daytime, nothing goes past a certain time of night.
That way, nobody's
Because everybody's gonna
denied,
wanna come home and park.
nobody would be denied, but did have to follow, if you had a policy
You need some
for a
rules.
specific day.
Let me ask, so if we're gonna pick a specific day, because we've had a couple of businesses, some longstanding businesses that have held a company picnic every year on like a Wednesday, Thursday during the day, and they've shut down the roads. If we move to let's just say a Sunday, then either they're going to have to move that, or they're gonna preclude it. Now, I can see, depending on whoever it is, some people might not have an issue with that. Others might want to say, well, they're already at work. I don't want to have them to come in on the weekend to go to a party. This is just a thought,
Well, that could be a difference between commercial versus residential.
which is allowed as well if council would like to do that.
And the time thing is a good point. I think the time thing is more important at dusk, which would change between summer hours and, not that anyone's gonna have a block party in December, but at 5 o'clock, it's pitch black. At 5 o'clock in August, it still is.
And of course, I think there should be in there stipulation for emergency vehicles access.
Who's gonna move the horses?
That would be the people with the block party.
They'd have to have, that almost
We'd
be
have to have somebody
stipulated
there.
that they'd move them. And if it would go and it would grow, do we have enough horses to block enough streets, or is it going to be first come, first serve?
Well, I guess I would ask in that question, how many streets do you want to block? Because
Well,
most block
there's gotta
parties,
be a
there's been
restriction
one.
on that.
Right.
A couple of years ago, they had it on the front, didn't they have it from Center
You
Street
have
to
have a
Western,
restriction.
the whole way down 8th or 9th Avenue, and it
You
was
can't
like
close down
the whole street
from
between.
Corbett Street to.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
And this is where
the
this.
bus routes,
See, and Park Street has one
There has to
every
be
year.
some restrictions.
Right, and this is where the staff has struggled about,
Yeah.
like, where do we draw that line? And certainly without some sort of policy to refer to, who am I to say that it's gonna be only on a Tuesday at 2 to 4
Yeah.
instead of these other days? So, certainly whether we wanna go with a separation for residents and businesses, whether there wants to be the same policy for everybody on certain days and times, limits to roads, who is going to put out the barricades, because right now, so going back to Bellevue, we do it as the residents, but in Tarentum, historically, we've had our public works do it, which means that we have, the reason that we charge the road closure fee is because there's a minimum payout under the contract for overtime.
I'd say that adopting the Bellevue version wouldn't be a bad thing.
Well, you know,
Just
you could do
drop 'em.
for businesses, I would say maybe weekdays. For residentials, I would say weekends, because that's when they generally,
Yes.
anybody's ever applied for one, even when I was here, it was always a Saturday. They
So it's
wanted to
like-
have it during a Saturday,
Plus-
because
Well-
that's when everybody's home, no one's working,
So-
and
so-
stuff like that,
Now, I
so.
will tell you that the other problem that we've had for the last 3 years when we do our block party is the permit specifically states that everything must be on one side of the road, left or right, so that there is an ambulance, because I live on a one-way street.
Right.
We've had problems with people, not purposely, but encroaching over half of the, they set up a tent, it goes a little bit, so it's not technically taking up the whole road, but it's more than halfway over, and then an ambulance couldn't get through. So, is that a situation that you give them a warning? Do you fine them? Do we just have EMS get out, throw the tent to the side, and keep driving?
I would say that keep
comment?
the tents actually
what's your
off the
comment, sir?
street. You've got sidewalk space,
Say the 12-foot or something. There has to
no
be
more than
12-foot
six,
right-of-way
no
or
more than
something.
6 feet away from the curb.
Let's hear from EMS.
How wide are your ambulance?
They vote you throw the
Ambulances
tent.
really aren't the issue. It's
Fire
fire
trucks.
trucks. It's fire trucks.
Yep.
Traditionally, the fire service doesn't like block parties, and I know we're gonna be enemies for that, but here's the reason. The vast majority of people do not think about emergency services or public safety. They think about their lives, their home, their block party, their recreation. A minority of people that are responsible for emergency services, police, fire, and EMS, are the ones that always constantly have to figure out what we're gonna do when the neighbors where Susan and I live have their Park Street block party, which already we're trying to fit 25-ton, 102-inch wide fire trucks in. So we have no, we have no dog in this argument or fight or discussion, other than the minority of people that think about having to deal with block parties and access for emergency vehicles are the ones that have to circumvent when something like that happens. And saying that someone is going to immediately throw, and everyone would pitch in, absolutely good. Obviously, if there was an emergency, every person on that block would start pitching in, moving coolers, moving tents, things like that. But that also is time consuming and when people get hurt. And remember, we're not just talking about fire trucks. We just had an incident, a police incident on East 8th Avenue that involved law enforcement. Who's to say when those things happen? So, I understand. I understand that people want to have recreation, and you, us, as a community, want to offer that to our people. But speaking from the fire chief that has the second ward, we would always get nervous on Thursday nights when market night was on Corbett Street. Business district, access, people. I know it sounds bad, but I go back to the minority of certain people have to think about public safety. The majority just want to have fun.
How many requests do you think we get a year? I mean, how many,
Less than, probably somewhere between 5 and 10.
Outside of, like, public, outside of the businesses?
No, those are the businesses. I'm separating out, so like
so I'm talking residential, how many?
Boo Fest and the night markets and things like that, I would put in a separate
Correct, right.
category. But a full-on road closure for either a block party or like a company picnic, 6, 7 maybe,
At the most.
at the most.
Plus, it's like in Ward 3, West Tarentum.
Some of them.
You're looking at, West 8th is a nice wide street. You got a 9th and 10th, they're actually narrower. They're tight.
Forget about 11th.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm just saying.
Well,
And then on the other side of that argument, you have, like, my street, Second Avenue is 3 cars wide, 4 cars wide, but it's as heavily trafficked as First Avenue is on certain times.
And then there's
So it's
10th
kind of
Avenue.
like, that's a busy
We're not gonna
thoroughfare
close
on
10th
on
Avenue.
a Second Avenue. I definitely think it's something we, I don't know if we're gonna solve it all tonight, but I think there's,
yeah, it doesn't need you know, to
Especially
solve
with
the
the
rate.
weather.
Something to
weather
think of
changing.
for
I mean,
next
we,
year when
we
people
can
wanna have them.
continue to do some due diligence and maybe research how a few other places are handling it and give a couple of options.
We're past the block party.
Weather,
Time,
time,
right.
yeah.
Right, so I mean, we
That gives
could
us some time.
give us some time
Yeah.
to maybe present a couple of options.
We
One,
also-
one being
Yeah,
no,
'cause it's not gonna
Yeah.
happen again.
no
Just
block
spray.
parties, the other being some sort of truncated to certain times or places, the third maybe being a split between residential and commercial, and
Does,
have a
does,
discussion.
What streets shouldn't we block? The police get involved if we block Sixth Avenue coming off the bridge, correct, Bob?
That happens.
Okay, or the bus routes, Pat Bus or whatever they call the Pat, no? The bus routes, they all have to be you know,
Those
Organized.
streets would have to be.
does your
precluded.
municipality
Yeah.
deposit back?
as long as you return the stuff in one
And you
shape.
don't
yeah.
break
Well,
it.
well, I like the idea because that puts a little bit of ownership and they have a little bit of skin in the game.
Yes.
If
What,
if it's my
how
name
much
that is
is it?
organizing it, then, you know,
It's like $200 or something.
Right.
Okay.
but
I can
That's
ask my-
enough.
I can ask my neighbor, she does the.
it forces somebody to
Just
be
curious,
responsible.
$200, yeah, somebody has to be responsible.
Sure, it forces somebody to be responsible and have some skin in the game that, you know, I want to organize this.
Right, but I mean, for First Avenue, we do, I mean, anytime that we do any event on First Avenue, we have to notify the
Oh,
Port
that's
Authority
everybody,
and,
yeah.
and everything else, so.
But people are kind of used to that, about First Avenue, different being blocked, they know how to go around places, you know, but if you weren't driving up behind Dusters, you don't realize Park Street's closed.
Yeah.
You're like, well, now where do I go? You know, so
Yeah, they're all
it's,
dead end anyhow.
they are, all yeah, they're all dead and you have to
Take a
drive through an
fire
alley.
truck down there, I hate to see it backing
Exactly.
out of there.
So, you know, that gives us time to discuss it.
Just giving a comment.
Okay, so
I think we're done here.
what I'm hearing is we need to do some more research on this and provide a couple of options for council and the community to consider and weigh in on. Yes? Okay. Okay.
Awesome. That was good. That's a good start. And Bob, like you said, our block party season is done, so good. We could have a salt party since we're buying salt here pretty soon.
Yeah, there you go.
Quickly gonna read motion 1, 2, and 3. We have a consent to approve all three at one time. Number 1 is the motion to pay the borough bills for the month of August 2025. Number 2 is motion to accept the bid of Noah Leslie for the Open Public Works laborer position and ratify that hire effective August 2025. And the third one is a motion to accept Compass Minerals America as the lowest responsible bidder through the SHA COG Purchasing Alliance for rock salt with a primary bid price of $88.32 per ton. Could I have a motion to approve consent items 1, 2, and 3?
So moved.
Second.
Ray on the first, Brian on the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0. Already talking about salt, that's crazy.
Yeah, so,
Tis the
We
season.
started the salt stuff probably about 3 months ago. There's a lot that goes into procuring, because there are so many municipalities and places that first come, first serve. So if you do not do it early,
yeah.
then you have a problem. And then we also use a purchasing alliance, whether that's through SHACOG or the state provides one as well. We've gone back and forth over the years. We just go with whoever gives us the best price through the bidding alliance. That just happens this year to be the SHACOG.
How are them prices compared to last year?
About the same.
Can you promise me that?
Yeah, we go through every year, in case anybody was interested, we go through about, last I looked, it was, I want to say, we put the price in for 200 some odd tons. I mean, it's a lot. We go through a lot. And then we have there's a mechanism, so, because you never really know what the winter's going to bring, right? So you always have a minimum, and our minimum here is 200, and some years we don't use it all, and other years you have to provide, part of this bid is there's like an emergency on, so if you have like a major storm and you run out of salt, that you can get more brought in.
It's because we got the best public works crew in the Game Valley.
Oh, they're great.
Second that.
I get mad every time I drive home and the Bellevue roads are covered in snow and Tarentum's is clean.
Sounds like you need to move closer.
Maybe never go home.
Good
You could be
idea.
a board resident.
Kathy is watching, and if my kids didn't go all the way across the river in Mount Lebanon, I would.
And there's a school district right on top of the hill. Anyways, moving right along. Discussion on the 7th and Orange project, and there's a motion immediately following that, depending on what we talk about.
So the 7th Norman project is a DEP-required project that has been going on since 2018. So I think it's gone through 2 or 3 borough managers and 2 COG managers and like 7 people at the county. So this is a sewer project. Originally, it was for $550,000. This is a required project under DEP. We do not have a choice for this. The specs and everything were started in 2018. The borough applied for 2 different grants, so CDBG and GEDTF. Combined, those grants were about $390,000. The total project, as I said, was about $550,000. We got the money, everything was great, borough was on the hook for $150,000, all in, not too bad. Then COVID hit. So I was actually working at the county at the time as a division director, and pretty much everything shut down for at least a year, depending on the division you were at, 2 years. Unfortunately, following that, there was also a lot of turnover, not only from COVID, but also a once in 3 terms, so 12 years change in county administration, and a lot of individuals left with them, leaving Allegheny County's economic development staff depleted. So, long story short, the result of that residual issue, and then some of the intricacies of 2 grants being managed by a third party, in this case, the Council of Governments, the project didn't get done. And here we are in 2025, and the cost has gone up since 2018. So the cost, unfortunately, is now upwards of $1 million.
Wow.
The project still must be done. The county is looking at giving us the grants again for the same amount of money. Let's just round up and say $400,000, which is great. What's not great is now, instead of $150,000, the borough is going to have to match $600,000. You know, it is what it is. Unfortunately, it's out of our control for multiple reasons. We are not the project managers. I have no control over the timelines, the contracting, the paperwork, any of it. We have worked diligently with the county and the COG. As a matter of fact, about a year ago, Eric sat in here with me, the COG, executive director, their solicitor, representatives from the county to try and get this figured out. The contractor who was awarded the project ultimately a couple of months ago pulled out, said, I'm no longer interested in doing this. And then if anybody knows anything about government contracting, that starts it all back over again. And so we can't just simply go to the second person on the list that in 2018 dollars said, yeah, I'll do it for $570,000. Now we got to bid the whole thing over again, and that's why the price has gone up. I am very not happy about it. You know, there were a multitude of factors that happened here over the years, but at the end of the day, it is a required item from the DEP. If we do not do this, the fines from the DEP, I don't even want to think about, not to mention the environmental hazard, stormwater, sewer, all of that stuff. So my reluctant recommendation would be that the borough commits the other $600,000 so that we can get the $400,000 in grant money. If we do not do this relatively soon, then the county is not going to hold the funding. We are out $400,000 and we would have to pay $1 million. So that is where we are at. I would also strongly urge that we have several contract changes and requirements with more coordination with the COG about making sure that the contract paperwork between the COG, the county, and the contractor gets done in a timely manner.
How can we assure that through the COG?
I don't know that we can. We can put it in and ask. We can look with legal counsel to their legal counsel. But when, if you would ask that same question in 2018, 2019, I don't know that any of us could have predicted the pandemic. I don't know that anybody could have predicted that, when Benecki was going to retire, or when Michael Nestico was going to leave, or the contractor pulling out.
Was that a contributing factor in losing that grant because of that timely issue there?
I would say, in my opinion, yes. Yeah, we held multiple meetings with multiple individuals. We sent, anybody here that has worked with me at any point in time knows that I don't do anything unless it's in writing. We have a timeline of communications with the contractor, with the county, with everybody else about, where are we? Can we please speed this up? I have concerns.
The Trenton Borough did their diligence.
We did everything, yes. So the moment that the bid went out, that the COG opened the bid, within 2 days of them bidding, it was right before a council meeting. Trenton Borough voted to say, okay, this is the lowest responsible bidder. We signed the letter saying, yes, we accept that. We immediately turned that over to the COG. From there, a lot of the paperwork was between COG, county, and engineer. And if they have any subcontractors, then the subcontractors have to sign paperwork. There has to be prevailing wage. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Yes.
I mean, it's not that much. I kind of do the same thing with my contracts and the prevailing wage and all that bull. I mean, and it's between, architects and districts and this and that. And we have a timeline of when things have to be done and things have to be back, or you're forfeiting contracts and you're,
That was part of the issue, in my opinion, is we'd asked on multiple occasions for a timeline, and because there were 2 different grants from the county, and this person didn't sign this paperwork, and this person didn't sign this at the county, then it got delayed, and you couldn't do the project until both of the paperworks were signed from the grants. Had it been one grant, might have been different, but the fact that it was 2 grants put together from separate funding sources to cover a single project with 6 hands in the pot.
Well, it's good to know that the residents should know that it wasn't the borough's.
No, Tarentum Borough, and the moment that I even had an initial concern 2 years ago, solicitor was involved in everything to make sure that we, Tarentum Borough, was compliant and we were on our timeline. And I will have to also give a kudos to our engineers for meticulously pushing and tracking everything.
Is this a grant that we got an extension on because it wasn't done at a certain time by the paperwork not being done?
Yes,
So the county gave us an extension, then it still didn't.
correct.
I mean,
Get
what
done in
ended
time.
up happening is the COG and the contractor were pointing fingers at each other as well. And we're kind of stuck in the middle of this, trying to make this go forward to no, avail. I mean, we met with them, like Dwight said, in person here to try to move the matter forward. But it was like this.
And that brings up,
We got caught up in it.
Yeah, and then it costs
and
us
that
money.
brings up the other issue. I mean, the issue on the table tonight will be, quite frankly, we have no choice. We have to get this project done.
Well, council always has a
Right,
choice.
right,
I
right.
would just say, it's a
Right,
requirement.
right. It's required.
Yes.
So
It's
that you
gonna
have
cost
that-
us more.
You have that issue, but I think once we move from that issue, I know, we've had a lot of discussion, like, I think it's, you've met, you spent time, you spent a boatload of time. And I think it's time that we publicly kind of, bring notice to what is happening or not happening with the COG, and we lost $400,000. I mean, you lost $400,000. I lost $400,000. You lost $400,000 for something that we did not do. And if we're gonna continue, like, if that's gonna continue to happen, then I I know I don't want to speak for you, but, you know, I question what is happening within that cog and, you know, how do we put them in charge of something else going forward?
Again, I spoke with Dwight earlier, I'm sure Trentham isn't the only municipality that has that problem.
And I think this is kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back that, and I know you're, you know, you feel the frustration that, you know, now it's time to kind of, I don't want to say go public, but I think we have to have
Discussion.
a public discussion, like, hey, what is happening, because here we are.
Is it worth belonging to the cog?
That's the discussion we have.
That's
Yeah,
the discussion that
that's
is,
just
The
it.
discussion we have to have.
that is very long and tedious, but that's,
Plus, I've had my sidewalks painted 5 times the for gas lights.
I mean, the better question would be, in my opinion, is it beneficial to belong to the cog with the current leadership as we
Yes.
sit right here,
Yes.
right now? Everybody has their own opinion. Belonging to a cog in general, I think yes. Belonging to a cog that
Yes.
has this particular leadership,
New man.
I don't know. But, I mean, that's something that I know we will discuss, but I think this is kind of like, you know, it's gonna have to start.
Did you do?
So before we jump to that, and I wanted to get that out there for public consumption. Any questions on anything that he talked about? Because the next thing that we need to decide is, are we approving, are we denying, are we tabling this funding commitment? Again, based on everything that Dwight said, I mean, we were told 7 years ago that we have to do this. The DEP's not going away.
No.
We're gonna have to take care of this.
Yeah.
How many, Dwight, how many notices have you gotten about this project that needs to be done from them?
From the DEP, it's been a couple of years. They give you a timeline and say you need to be finished by then, so they'll come knocking. It's really been the engineers.
Don't answer the door, buddy.
Sorry, closed.
It's really been the engineers that have been adamant. You know, when there was a transition from Michael to me, they're the ones that made sure that, hey, like, this needs to be on your radar. You need to make sure this is going forward and this is getting done. Here's why this is needed. Here's where the funding's coming from, who's handling the contracting. Here's your responsibilities. You know, the engineers have been great.
Well, if Trentham don't do it soon, 2 years down the road, the cost is gonna be even more.
It's gonna go
It's
up.
not gonna get
Yes,
done.
I mean,
It's not
really,
getting any better.
really the culprit was, besides that, is, you know, inflation and cost. You know, waiting 5 years post-pandemic to do anything, the costs have gone up significantly. The cost of paving roads has gone up a crazy amount since the pandemic, and some of those costs, unfortunately, aren't coming down anytime soon.
Well, we don't want to lose any more funding that we can get either.
Yes, I absolutely would agree. Every grant that we can get is a lifeline to this community. We have done very well with making sure that we are trying to budget appropriately, incremental increases so that we can fix some of the utilities. But when you lose $400,000 to $600,000, I mean, that hurts.
Do you want me to go down
He's
and
ready.
smack them around a little bit?
No.
I'm good at that.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to make a motion to approve the remaining 7th and Ormond project funding commitment. So I'm looking for a second so we can have a,
Second.
Scott made the motion, Brian made the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes unanimously, 7-0.
If we are lucky, when we rebid the project, the costs will come in under. And then hopefully it won't hurt so bad. I mean, the opposite can also hold true, that the cost, you know, by the time it gets bidded out, that it can go up. But hopefully it's under.
Might be a good time of year to do it, though.
Well, just like before, unfortunately, that's not up to us. So the county is going to have to redo the paperwork for 2 different grants. That will have to be signed and approved by them, then the COG, and then council. and then the COG's gonna have to re-advertise, they're gonna have to rebid. Once people bid with the updated scope, then council has to accept it. Once council accepts it, the acceptance letter goes back to the COG. COG issues the award, and then COG has to issue notice to proceed, then work can be started. So, I mean, it's any major government project, unfortunately, has a lot of things that you must do.
Several months down the road yet then.
Correct. And then you also have you have the weather to contend with too, right? Certain types of projects aren't gonna be done in the middle of winter.
This small project also has to go into the tracks. So you have to work with Norfolk.
Well, that
Correct.
was in 2018, before everything else, yes, it took Norfolk Southern 9 to 12 months to get an approval letter to go under the tracks for the engineering.
I know,
So if we have to get an additional approval,
add 9 or 10 months to that. And you made them mad when they had to come back and fix our crossings.
I was adamant that they fix the crossings that they are responsible for, and they did.
Which means you just ain't going anywhere for another, well, we have a 15-year plan, so.
Yeah.
All right. You want to talk about the stat track data collector for $5,500 before we ask for a motion?
Yes, so up on 10th, Miss Cindy will know.
What?
10th.
I'm ready to fall asleep.
There's a little sign up there. It says you're traveling how fast, right? Have everybody seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So not only does it look at, who's speeding and giving us the data on there, it counts how many cars. And it's useful for data collection. So as of August 2025, does anybody want to guess how many cars have gone through there in a
I
month?
hate to think.
I go through
I
at
will-
least 7 times a day, so.
163,099.
Holy guacamole.
163,099.
That is one road. And that's not even it's a busy one. It is not the busiest.
From what date to what date?
That's just August, 1st to 31st, 30th, 31st.
Wow.
1 month,
1 month.
1 month.
How come it doesn't tell me good day like the one on Burtner does?
We didn't buy one that fancy.
Have a nice day, thanks for calling.
So,
How many did you say?
163,099. 163,099. That's just one road, 1 month.
No wonder we can't sleep.
directions.
Yes, yeah. So here's what we would like to do, which is why we're asking to purchase a slightly different model. We have tried, so we just were able to get the light at 10th and Corbett upgraded. It's about $220,000 for that, and we were able to get a grant. We have 3 over in West Tarentum that desperately need replaced. We have tried and tried and tried and tried. We don't have $1 million to replace 3 lights. PennDOT has repeatedly told us that there's not enough accidents, that there's not enough traffic, there's not enough this, yada, yada, yada. Which may be true, but we don't know that for certain. So what we would like to do is we would like to purchase a stat track data collector. So it's kind of like the one up there, but it doesn't measure speed. All it does is count cars. And it's a slightly bigger model so that we can move it around, but really what we want to look at it for is right in the intersection where the bridge is at, where all of those things are at. Knowing how much traffic is actually coming and going across the bridge and up 366, and then into West Tarentum as well. So we're hoping to use that the data collection, saying, hey, listen, we're going through, I don't know what it is, 300,000 cars a month. And then also whenever the breweries having their concerts and things like that, how much traffic is going through there. I am a proponent of data is our friend. It's not going to solve all of our problems, but if we have the information, I think it would help. Worst case scenario here, we spent $5,000 out of a $14 million budget that doesn't give us quite the data that we want for grants, but does provide us with other data for police department, right? So that they can use it and how many vehicles are coming through, wear and tear on the roads, traffic stops, speeding, all of those other things. Not that this one does speeding, but you catch my drift.
And if you apply for grants for the lights and stuff due to the traffic, and that's denied, that sign can always be moved somewhere else.
Yes, yeah. So that one, the one that's up there, and then next year, we may ask in the budget, because those smaller signs are like $2,500. We might ask for another one of those that's portable, so that helps with traffic count. It also, in some studies, not all studies, has a measurable effect on reducing speed, but also can give us some other information. We do hear from residents on certain roads that there's a lot of cars and people are speeding, and to have the validation either for the residents that, yes, you're right, there's a lot of speeding there to help inform police work, or conversely say, actually, there's only been 10 cars on this road in the last month. No matter which way you go there, it's helpful to have the actual information.
Well, there's a lot of speeding on 10th Avenue. I mean, it's only 35 mile an hour.
Slow down when you go up there.
They go 50.
You don't
Slow
want,
down.
you don't want the answer to that, Miss Cindy.
What?
The
Average speed?
the state, if you do a traffic study, they go off the 80th percentile, so that can work for you or against you. So if the average people on 10th Avenue are all going 50, the state would actually raise the
Really?
speed
Yeah.
limit, yes.
So, shh.
What you wish for.
Because already there's 30 mile an hour and they're going 50.
Yes, Mr.
Nobody
When
goes
I
30.
was police officer in Brackenridge at Emerson Street at the light and stuff, top speed up there was 92 mile an hour. At that time, the speed limit was 40. With the tickets I wrote, 300 and some tickets.
That's
each
Hamlin.
speeding, they lowered that speed limit to 35 mile an hour. So I don't know if that's a possibility up here. It's
Jeremy's like,
30 already, but
Anything on this,
Jeremy.
anything on a state road requires a traffic study. So if it is a Tarentum Borough Road, I mean, council's within its right to really kind of do whatever speed limit they want within reason under state laws. You can't say you're gonna go 90 down First Avenue. But anything that's, Freeport is considered a state road, 366. So we would be required to get a traffic study done. So in that particular case, if we know that many of the cars are going 50, the state would come in that case and raise the limit.
they could raise it up to 50 mile an hour.
Whatever the 80th percentile average is, so it could be 40,
28, they
50,
go
60.
90.
Right,
They should raise 28 to 80.
right, yeah.
So, any questions before I ask for a motion? Can I have a motion to approve the purchase of a Stat Track data collector for the price of $5,519.58?
So moved.
Second.
Luann on the first, Maggie on the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously, 7-0. So I know we had some discussion last month and some previous months about securing the card. And we talked about, I'm gonna say this word. Bollards. Anyway, we approved it, we were all good. After some thinking about it, if we're gonna spend the money, if we're gonna do the project, we might as well do it right. So we wanna minimize the distance between the things to make them closer. So it is
Bollards.
safer.
So we went over with the head engineer and the contractors for the project, as well as our public works director. And the original plan that the engineers put together were 6 feet apart. The whole point of doing this was to, we've had a couple of cars that unfortunately, for whatever reason, have gone right through there. If it is during spray park hours or play hours like we've talked about, we are lucky that children haven't been seriously maimed or killed. So that was the impetus for the project. When we went over there and looked at what the engineers were proposing, 6 feet, we believe, is too far apart for cars are gonna go right through there anyway. So the contractors are willing to give us the same price that was in the bid per bollard, but with shrinking the distance from 6 feet to 4 feet, we're gonna have to add a handful more bollards, which is an estimated another $20,000. So mind you, the whole project right now was about $45,000, so we'll be upwards of $65,000 to put these bollards in the whole way down to prevent, hopefully, a tragedy in the future.
How many extra Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. That's why I know what the number's about 20,000. It also includes, they're gonna throw in for free, we didn't
The
have.
covers, the
The
sleeves.
covers, the sleeves, yeah. I don't wanna say for free, but they're gonna
Yeah.
work it into the price. That would be a bad way.
Are they gonna
Yeah,
be
that's
like
a sound
swapped
good.
or
They're
fitted?
just gonna.
No, they're gonna be fitted
They're gonna
so
be
that
fitted?
that you can't pull them
Okay,
off. Yeah, yeah,
okay.
we went over and we talked about a lot of the stuff too, and like where the rubber is on the play area too, because we're gonna have to cut that back by probably
Oh,
about
yeah.
6 inches, but then put the barrier in there, and we're doing it in a way so if the overall plans for the riverfront, whatever they end up being, that fence gets moved one way or another, we're making sure that the bollards are aligned so that that fence is out of there, that it looks like it was intentional on a de facto fence, really. You don't want to have a bunch of staggered bollards like this
Right.
if and when that fence comes out of there.
They don't plan on putting any of them on the ends, right?
No, it's just going to be on the inside along the whole way on the
Still have
inside.
access.
Yeah.
Questions? Can I have a motion to approve the change order for the park bollard project? For approximately $20,000.
So moved.
Second.
Susan and Ray on the second. Good thing the recording's working. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 7-0. No, everybody in Trenton knows I can't speak that word. Any questions on resolution 25-16 to MMO about the adoption of the 2026 minimum municipal obligations?
This one's straightforward. This is an every year requirement. This is for the pension so that we know for the budget for 2026 for both police and Public Works. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but the MMO went down a little bit.
Wow.
So I'm not an actuary, but okay, I'll take it.
Play one on TV.
Not arguing.
Any questions? Can I have a motion to adopt resolution 25-16, the 2026 MMO, resolution of the Borough of Trenton County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, ratifying the adoption of the 2026 minimum municipal obligations?
So moved.
Second.
Maggie on the first, Brian
No,
on the
no,
second.
Susan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let Susan and Maggie have it.
Susan and Maggie? Okay, let's do Susan.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0. I'm almost done.
George should be okay.
Water rates, you have good news. Wow.
Sound right.
Depends on who you are, if I have good news.
That's
So I will apologize, I have taken up the whole night in talking, but this one is important because we've talked about this, the water system for 3 years and how we get to where we need to be to replace the lines so that we're not having TTHM violations, so that the water's not brown, so that we're not having breaks all the time, so on and so forth. So right now, our rate model is what the American Water Association would consider outdated and inequitable. Large commercial and institutional users are paying significantly less per gallon than residential customers. So in 2024, the complete year's worth of data, households paid about $13.95 per 1,000 gallons, while a 6-cent industrial meter paid about $8.83. That's a built-in 36% discount for the heaviest users. The American Water Association doesn't consider this fair and discourages conservation and shifts more of the cost onto the residents. It also leaves us without the predictable revenue that we need to replace century-old water lines and qualify for some additional grants. What I am recommending, similar like we're doing for electric, is a 4-year transition to a fair and transparent structure where everyone pays the same per gallon rate. So by 2029, all customers would be billed at $13.50. For anybody paying attention, that's actually a lower rate for the residents per 1,000 gallons. At that point, the base charges will be recalibrated using the American Water Association meter equivalency ratio, so fixed costs like metering, billing, and system access are properly assigned by meter size. So what that means right now in practice is our 6-inch meters are paying $2,000 and some odd dollars as a minimum base charge. They also are getting a 236,000 gallon allowance the American Water Association, based on some of the other stuff, would make their monthly minimum charge about $500 instead of the $2,000. But on the offset of that, there would be no more allowances, and they would pay the straight per 1,000-gallon charges as everybody else. After the change, we will still remain competitive regionally. Pittsburgh Water and Sewer, who we have a meeting with tomorrow just to confirm a lot of this and pick their brains on other items, is at $16.38. Blawnox is at $13. We'll still be in the middle of the pack. Additionally, we have our contract with Eastier, which requires a 3-month notice for any changes, which is why I am suggesting this now. So a January 2026, we are only contractually can raise their rates by 0.03 cents per year. So we've talked about that ad nauseum. I do believe this will bring our system in line with best practices, in line with American Water Association standards, and ensure fairness and long-term stability. So in a nutshell, what I am asking council to consider is freezing residential rates, the 5/8 meter for 4 years, and slowly over 4 years by a couple of cents per 1,000 gallon, raising the other meter sizers, which is the commercial and the industrial, until everybody's equalized for the usage, and then a separate base charge would apply. Again, similar like we're doing electric, with the only difference is electric has demand charges to recover the cost. That's an important caveat and concept. If we had a way to do demand for some of these large industrial users, it really wouldn't matter. The model that Tarentum has used to be a fairly common model that was adopted 50, 60, 70 years ago. I can see Jim nodding his head because he knows. That, you know, it really was more for the industrial heyday, but without a way, again, to capture some of that additional strain on the system that's already failing. I don't personally believe it should only be on the residents of Tarentum to fix the water system. Yes, they have a large portion in helping that, but so does everyone else. And paying a simple, fair rate across the board. There's no budget gimmicks. There's no, issues with multipliers and all this, everything. Everybody pays the flat same rate for actual water consumption. So whether Mr. Nolan, Miss Cindy, or a business out in town is using 1,000 gallons of water, it costs us the same at the water plant to produce it. The difference is the stress and how much and the pricing for the pipes and things like that, as well as meters. We have to buy different meters for those commercial properties. We have bigger pipes that we have to maintain. So that's what I'm asking council to consider. I will also say that with any resolutions and any water rates and anything else, council always has the right to adjust, right? So all things considered right now, you're freezing, if you go with this, the residential costs, so the residents aren't going to see much of a difference next year, and you're going to have a minor incremental increase next year for commercial. Year after that, minor incremental increase for commercial, so on and so forth, until we get to 2029 where it equalizes out. That should, in theory, by the time that 2029 and 2030 hits, our electric and water should be on a similar trajectory where it's just minor increases, so that we are not hitting residents with a 15, 20, 30% increase when the market goes wild or there's a catastrophic failure at the water plant or whatever else it is.
How many year contract do we have with Eastier?
We signed it in the 70s, it is up in 2032.
Yeah.
There's been 7 or 8 managers that looked at it, Bob.
Taking a dirt nap by the
We've had multiple lawyers look at it. We've discussed it with our neighbors.
I got your back on that one, Bob.
It is what it is. Eric's looked at it several times. It is an ironclad commitment. My concern with that is now I am thankful they're here. I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression that the Pittsburgh Brewing Company is here. I think it's great for the region, but they are getting a bulk rate of like $4 to $5 per 1,000 gallons to the residents, 13, and the businesses 8, and they're producing a lot of, product. Right, and, there's several different ways you can look at that. Maybe it is good for the region for economic development, but is that fair to Tarentum residents to subsidize a multi-million-dollar business in another town?
No.
That is for the Tarentum residents and council
Cindy
to
said
decide. Right, so I'm laying all the cards on the table because for the last 3 years, I've been, pushing for us to have a long-term plan for our water system, whatever that might be. There's multiple avenues you can take. Fixing those water rates, there could have been a discussion, and there was a couple years ago about, do you sell the water system,
Now, how much is East Air paying?
5 something.
And their business and residential is the same?
No, they're paying, so here, they're paying for the first $200,000, they're paying 6 something. Well, this is the new suggested rates. So they are at $648 for the first 200,000, and then it was $598 per 1,000 gallons. That's what's in effect right now. This is the new recommended, their 3-cent increase across the board per whatever.
That's what they're paying, that's what they're paying us. Now, what they turn around and charge to their customer,
Yeah.
to their people.
Right, okay.
Right,
Right.
completely different.
Right.
Wait, that's your next job in that year 2031 or 30.
Get that contract taken care
You're
of.
gonna be around that long.
They'll be here. That's within our
We'll be here.
15-year window.
So the 2032, and that's something that Tarentum is gonna have to sit down with Eastier in 2028, 2029 and decide what it is they wanna do, because ultimately, if they decide not to purchase water from Tarentum, they're gonna have to figure out how to get that to their residents, whether they bring in a line up from Oakmont or run one down over the hill from Fraser, which is supplied from Fawn and ultimately Brackenridge. Is there an avenue for our region to consider a water authority like we're doing for EMS and a lot of other places do? I would argue that that would make a lot of strong sense in the long run for the region. These towns and our water systems were built when we had 10, 12, 15,000 people in each town, and we had PPG, and we were using 2, 3, 4 million gallons a day. We do not have that population or industry anymore, but yet we have these archaic legacy systems that are very expensive that, you go down a year, 10, 20 years from now, with the amount of residents in Tarentum and the tax base, is the water system viable? So, there are some serious long-term
Negotiations isn't that far off.
considerations.
If memory serves me, we have officially told them we do not plan to renew it.
You are correct.
That was a while ago.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
Because
officially sent notice of that. Yeah.
Michael had realized the same issue when he had come, and as a matter of fact, I had my first year here, I had a couple meetings with him to go over in detail to discuss kind of the issues and the options, and so I remember, I think it was 2023, we invited them to have a conversation with us. They declined, which is fine. We should probably try again in 2026, 2028, and 2030. That way, nobody can say that Tarentum didn't reach out and that we didn't try to negotiate something. And even if we do negotiate something with them, I don't know that that solves our overall water issue with the need for the pipe replacement and the upgrades to the plant. You know that almost better than anybody. And I appreciate all the work that I've been able to steal from your emails and memos and texts.
There should be free beer.
That's what I was gonna say. Ticket something.
Or the made with Tarentum water on the bottom.
That's what I tell everybody.
Yeah, made by the Tarentum water, that's a
what I
good
tell
idea.
everybody.
Right.
It should say made with Tarentum water.
So, long story short here, we have significant challenges with the water. We've done our best to bring in the DEP and do an asset management inventory. That's how we know how much we need to replace, to try and look at various avenues. Going back to, if you sell the water system to, say, someone like American Water, or one of their competing firms, there's no guarantee that they're gonna fix the problems. other than the minimum that they're required to, and not astronomically raise the prices, because we've seen that's what they've done in other places in the state.
I go to a lot of meetings that people have done that where they've
Right.
sold the water system to one of these other companies and then they get a lot of money up front, but then,
They get slammed.
no.
Right, if you're gonna raise the rates, anyway, regardless, I would like to think that the community would at least like to have it under its control instead of giving it to a company that's gonna raise the rates anyway, and then you have no say. It might take me a little while, but, if somebody calls me, there are plenty of times that I've gone out and personally looked at pipes. You sell that to a private corporation, good luck. Their CEO's not coming out and
They don't
looking at a
care.
pipe, right.
Bottom dollar.
So, but I still think there's validity to looking at either regionalization or authorities like we're doing with EMS, but in the meantime, we still need a plan in case we do not choose that avenue or we cannot get there. And the best one that I can see on the table is minor rate increases over the next couple years, and specifically earmarking any and all of that additional revenue to water line replacement. It cannot and should not be used for anything else. 1,200 to 1,400 feet of Davidson to replace that, because that's the most recent upgrade cost that we have, $620,000. Which is where we're getting the $20 to $30 million from, both from the DEP and current cost estimations from the engineers. The borough simply just does not have the financial capacity itself or to put on the residents and the commercial to do that all up front. We can continue to patch the pipes like we've done for 100 years, but it's only going to continue to get worse. So even minor pipe replacement, in my opinion, is better than nothing.
Question,
We need to win.
how close are the gas lines to the water lines?
Depends on the area,
Yeah.
depends on the
I
road.
mean, is there something we might be able to work out with the gas company and do everything together?
They don't like us.
No?
You would like to think so, and I would also like to think that when we do paving and coordination and things, that we can do that. And to be fair, sometimes, yes, sometimes if they've already got something on their list, we can work out like a joint. Maybe they'll pay half the cost of paving. But typically, at least in my experience, it already has to be on their radar for replacement. So I wouldn't roll it out, and it could probably help us in some things. Just like getting some grants is helpful when whatever we can get them, but it is not a reliable strategy. So if we rely only on either going with the gas company or grants, what happens if they say no or we get no grants, and then we've replaced no lines, and we're 3 years down the road, still worse for wear, having multiple breaks and nothing done at all.
Right.
Which is kind of, I think, where we've been at for the last couple of years. And we were fortunate to get some grants and we did do some replacements, but then either things got delayed or we didn't get them or they got pulled or costs went up by the time they, whatever, and they didn't get done. And it's just, the pipes literally this year, next year are reaching their 100-year lifespan.
Cross your fingers.
Right, so ductile iron is what most of the region has used, and it's held up really well for 100 years, but we're at the end of the life cycle.
Nothing lasts forever.
Were some of them wooden water lines?
I have not come across any, but that doesn't mean that there might not be some
I know
ancient
Pittsburgh's-
one somewhere.
We
I
did
know
have some in
Pittsburgh's
the
still digging 'em up.
cemetery. Well, we had closed everything off up there, because we used to have like little places around where you could hook up a hose and
Yeah.
water stuff and everything. And we closed those all up, and if we were digging some of the graves, we came across the wooden water lines to the cemetery.
I think them were coffins.
Okay.
I have talked enough, that's what I got.
All right, can I have a motion to adopt Resolution 25-17, 2026 water rates? Resolution of the Borough of Trumbull County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, designating the 2026 water rates and establishing a 4-year plan to phase in uniform water consumption rates and meter scale base charges, including an increase to the East Tier contract rate and repealing all rates inconsistent herewith.
So moved.
Second.
Susan and Brian on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0. All right. Moving along to committee reports. Mr. Pataki,
Everybody just look at Kelly.
ABN COG.
We had no meeting last month.
Surprise, surprise.
But we did have an earlier conversation about things that we want to do with them.
Yes, understand.
Mr. Kerr, Business Advisory Committee.
Visited both grocery stores, McKay's and Horizon, a couple times this past month. And for those of you, there's only a few of us here, old enough to remember, they remind me of the small neighborhood stores that I went in to buy my baseball cards, to get the bubble gum with the white powder on it for some reason. But they were like just a neighborhood store where you know the owner. You go in and talk to the owners, so, and I wish them luck. And speaking of businesses in town, we just had the big $1.5 billion Powerball. When I play the lottery, which is only when it goes up that high, if I get lucky, I want to get lucky big. When I play it, I try to play it in Trenton, if I can, because they get a cut, okay? And when the Horizons machine was down, I went up to Breckenridge Beverage, because, I know the owners and everything, but instead of playing at a Giant Eagle or somewhere, try to play it in town, give them a little business, and while you're in there, buy something.
Fair enough.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pataki, back to you, Finance and Administration.
The links are online, but I wish you the best on creating our budget this month, and I'm sure council's looking forward to our meeting.
No, we're not.
Oh, yeah.
It's not on my wife's birthday this year, so
Yeah.
You'll be okay.
It's a long meeting.
It's gone.
Ms. Smith, over to you, Parks and Rec.
Yes, I think the last concert at the park was canceled, actually, to the weather. So we're looking forward to the Boo Fest that'll be on Saturday, October 18th, from 1 to 4 at the park. They'll have food, crafts, sidewalk chalk contest, hay rides. If you have any questions, you can contact Carrie Fox. She also asked if there's any vendors that would like to set up. She has a form to fill out here if anybody's interested. And then the other thing coming up is for Shop Small Saturday. They're gonna have a Trenum business crawl. Thank you, Dwight. I think this was posted in our last, it came with the last bill, the last borough bill. I believe it was on the flyer.
It may
I think
have.
It was on the flip side, I believe.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was. Well,
We'll send out a reminder too.
I was gonna say, yeah. I think this is a great idea. Each business that wants to participate will get a sticker card. And basically what you do is you go to each business, there will be tasting, samples, giveaways. You show proof of purchase from whatever business, and then there'll be a drawing and a game at the end of it. So, like I said, I think it's a cute idea. And then I think the last thing is, of course, is the Christmas parade. I don't remember which date that is.
I'll have more information as we
I
get
have-
closer.
November 22nd?
21st,
Somewhere in
22nd,
there,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm sorry, my brain's. And then I didn't know if you wanted me to talk real quick about.
Please do. Yes.
Yes.
And then Jim can talk about it here.
I was gonna
towards the
say,
end.
Jim can give the real details on this, but I attended an EAC committee meeting, which is the Environmental Action Committee. And it's a group of very dedicated individuals looking to make things better for the environment here. There's a sample of a chimney swift home, I'm gonna call it. They want to put a couple of these down in the park, the marina area. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the chimney swifts towards dusk, heading for chimneys. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah.
Prince has a big group.
Yeah, I mean, it's super cool to see them too. The other thing that they wanted to do for down, where people are fishing, another great idea is a fishing line recycling bin. To put a couple of these by, when you go down the marina ramp, there's that little place where people fish to recycle fishing lines. And I mean, even when we were walking around down there, I mean, the amount of lines and hooks and things
And
that were
hooks going
laying there.
there, too.
Yeah, so. And then the last thing they mentioned was a couple of basically native gardens. And I think that's a great idea. But like I said, Jim is the man that is better to explain all this. And like I said, these are very, very dedicated people to doing these things, and I think it's awesome, so, but.
Yeah, we'll give you, Jim, we'll give you some time at the end.
Yes,
right, during
yes.
citizens' comment.
Yeah. These are my weapons, just watch it.
All right, Mr. Nolan, property health and zoning.
I'm actually gonna surprise everybody. I have something for
Oh my
tonight.
gosh,
It's online.
What-
it's a miracle.
I'm gonna put my retired fire instructor helmet on, and I'm gonna remind everybody, just like we were reminded earlier, that because next month is Fire Prevention Month, we need to remember about our smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. You gotta remember, for your smoke detectors, there are two different types of smoke detectors, ionic and photoelectric. Ionic will only pick up natural light wispy smokes from your natural wood burning. The photoelectric goes after the dark, heavy smoke. You ever heard of, they had smoke detectors, but they didn't go off? Well, maybe it was because the wrong type of smoke for the wrong type of detector. Remember, what most of our furniture is made of now? Plastics. So it gives that really heavy smoke. The photoelectric smoke detector is best for that.
Do they make one that does both?
Yes, they do make that. Now, another thing is, you gotta remember the NFPA recommends that you have smoke detectors both inside and outside of the bedrooms, and on every floor. They also recommend carbon monoxide detectors for homes that use natural gas, which many of ours do, or for those who use oil, fuel furnaces, that you have a carbon monoxide detector on each floor. There are many different types out there. You can get wired in, but you also can get with battery backup. I recommend wired in with battery backup. That way you don't have to worry about the batteries as much. But also remember, you need to do batteries every 6 months. So when the time changes, remember to replace your batteries on those that use batteries. They also make the ones that tie together. So if one goes off, they all go off. And they do it, some do it wired and some do it through like a Bluetooth type connection. So these are some of the things that you need to remember while doing it. Also, children do not inherently wake up to the standard smoke detector horn. There are the ones out there where the parents can actually record a message saying, "Hey, Johnny, wake up."
14-year-old needs that.
Just to go to school?
So it's because remember, how often does the alarm clock go off? Smack, smack, smack. They ignore it. Get a voice for the kids.
Do you know if a spider crawls through your photoelectric smoke detector, it'll go off?
Absolutely.
Yeah, ours did.
I forgot.
We found a dead
to-
spider in it.
I forgot to mention now that we're on property health and zoning, because this was authorized like I don't know, 2, 3 months ago. We were just able to get it done. Public Works, as of this morning, with Highlands Tires, was able to clean up what essentially became a tire dump next to Summit over in West Tarentum on an abandoned lot. So they picked up, I wrote it down, Brad told me, 80-some odd tires over there.
Wow.
that have just
Yeah,
been
I remember the
abandoned.
pile.
Yeah, so they got it picked up, and then we're getting a dumpster to come in to clean up the rest of the junk.
Awesome.
And then hopefully, because we applied like 9, 10 months ago to the vacant property program through the county. So hopefully, once we acquire the property, that we can erect an offense and kind of limit that from happening again.
What kind of price did Highland give us?
$2 a tire.
Nice.
That's great.
They
Yeah,
told me $5.
yeah.
Oh, they like
We had
him
those-
better.
we had those connections, Bob.
He's a good negotiator.
It was, I can't take credit for that. It was one of the staff members that had those connections.
Thank you, Brian, for a real report.
You're very welcome.
He's just happy you got to say something.
I actually had something worth giving.
Yes.
Susan, over to you for public safety.
Okay, so last month we read off Eureka's halfway mark for the year 2025. This year we have a report from Summit Hose. This is their mid-year report from January 1st to June 30th, 2025. They do a nice little breakdown, kind of like Brad does, but they have 8 classes, and for the year, we have like any structure, vehicle, vegetation, things like that, they've had 20 calls. Good intent calls, they've had 46. They've broken it down into essentially a little bit of a scale where most of the good intent calls, or most of the calls were good intent calls, and their total came out to 132. And good intent really falls under kind of like their dispatch but canceled, no emergency found. We didn't have any weather, natural disasters, and we didn't have any explosions, which is a good thing. They went ahead and broke it down further that most of their calls were done in the evening, 59 were done from 4 to 12. Daylight was 50 calls and overnight were 23 calls. And that their average response time is 3 minutes and on scene to the event is 5.25 minutes. So it's kind of a nice little breakdown for their half-year report. Eureka's report for August, fire-related calls were 28, representing 105 personnel hours, 185 EMS calls, representing 762 personnel hours. Company training hours were 26, plus our advanced EMTs classes, which they're finishing up or have finished up and are getting ready to test. Community outreach, we participated in the County Water Rescue Team, Brackenridge Community Day, the council meeting here, the East Deer Community Day, CPR classes, the Thunder Run event, which was very, very long. It was a very long ride. The Western PA Firemen's Convention, and the Eric Mangieri Remembrance Ceremony.
And
That
one
is-
borough manager ride-along.
We did, and we did have a borough manager ride along
No calls.
for whatever
We had a
reason.
call.
We had one call.
We had a
One
call.
call.
Did-
So he's on.
But we were told if you went on the Sunday, the day before, you would have been.
You
Would have
would've
been
been
slammed. So he is contracted for the next few weeks, that we're gonna grab him when we're having a busy day and take him out.
A borough manager is trying to get a better understanding of the day-to-day reality of EMS as we try to create the EMS authority.
Susan, you need to remember to give him the curse. Have a quiet day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it's been quiet all day.
We started this, a year and a half ago with the EMS authority. We are getting closer. At some point in the next 60 days, there will be a public announcement about a public hearing info session for the community to come understand what the reality of EMS is in the region, potential solutions, what the 4 municipalities and 2 EMS agencies, so East Deer, Tarentum, Brackenridge, Harrison's, Citizens, and Eureka are recommending. Many EMS organizations across the state have closed down over the last couple of years. We all know that they're struggling with staffing, with funding, with equipment. EMS is not optional, in case you did not know that. In Pennsylvania, it is required, but there is not a built-in funding mechanism. So there's a couple of options on the table, but we want to make sure that all 19,000 of the neighbors and the families don't wait absurdly long times in case there's a medical emergency. So the last thing that I will say there is, I will absolutely, this is the hill that I will die on. We in Pittsburgh invented modern EMS. And we as a region, I strongly feel, should not let it die here either. So we will continue to work on that and push for it. And I would encourage everybody here that when the meetings come out to please come and bring a friend, bring a neighbor.
Bring everybody,
I
because
hope we get a better response
the
this time than we
education,
did when they were thinking about closing up.
the education is vital. I don't know how many people realize this morning was a very, very large fire in Catani. Okay, you heard about that, right? So much that they drew resources from Harrison Township, resources that we use should something happen here. Now, these are vital resources that are now going all the way to Catani because they have such a large incident. What happens when we have one here? So bring everybody. For EMS, when we start discussing different things about fire, bring everybody. Talk to each other about this.
We just happened yesterday. Westmoreland County had a shooting incident and had a Lower Borough had a fire and New Canaan had a shooting incident. Trenton Borough Police, Fire and EMS Services were in Lower Borough and New Kensington for the better part of 2.5 hours yesterday. That's just a fact of life.
My son was there.
So when we have all of these info and what we need to do and to establish the authority, remember things like that because you don't know when that call's coming in.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Luann, Public Works.
Okay, everything's online, but I'm going to get quickly go through, but they have started milling, correct?
Yes.
Okay, milling has started. They did repairs on Park Street, the water line, a root catch basin on East 8th Avenue in Ormond, and park maintenance along with their normal everyday work.
Susan, back to you. Redevelopment, revitalization.
We don't have anything yet, and there's nothing online, but we'll get better at it.
Just make up a report and just have it.
That's right, we've had a thorough meeting. Mr. Kerr, Utilities, Water and Electric.
On the electric side, there was a few outages. One was the West Penn Power substation issue, and that was their problem to restore. They restored it in little time. A lot of preventive maintenance done, troubleshot transformer bank on James Wolfe Boulevard, some connects, disconnects, line clearance or tree trimming down by Golden Towers and Electric Avenue, tree trimming by the water tower feed, and many other things that Howard gets done. On the water side, preventative maintenance, the checking the valves, moving the noise readers on schedule. We already talked about the automatic flushers and the noise loggers. And Trenton produced 29.9 million gallons of water. And I'm glad Mr. Bonner was here tonight. This is in honor of his retirement. Okay? I looked at some back records, and on April 6, 2021, Councilman Bonner announced in March of 2021, Trenton produced 31.3 million gallons of water. And he figured that a flush per gallon is 1.6. gallon every time you flush, which equaled 19,562,500 flushes. Now, last month, we only produced 29.9 million gallon, and at 1.6 gallon per flush, that's 18,687,500 flushes.
What do you got to say about the people in Toronto?
Well, they're not.
They don't flush their toilets.
I believe that's Pittsburgh Brewery now, that's.
Absolutely.
That's right. Thanks for
We're
brewing.
using less water,
Yeah.
so that means we're flushing less, so I guess people aren't, you fill in the blank.
Not necessarily.
Right, I heard
There are
that.
fewer pools being filled.
Maybe they bought high-efficiency toilets with
Or they
lower
put a
flush.
brick in the back of it to take up the work, you know.
Or maybe they just go down to the park.
Okay,
Moving on.
moving on. Thank you, Mr. Kerr.
Water moment.
That was good, but we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Takes us to our second citizens' comment section of the evening. Again, this is open to all residents and taxpayers of the borough for anything that we discuss, except that part, tonight, or anything that is on your mind as a resident of the borough. Same rules apply, 3-minute time limit. Please stand, state your name and address for public record. And we will start with Sydney and kind of stay across the room.
Cindy Lombard, 538 East 10th Avenue, Toronto, Pennsylvania. I just want to remind everybody of the ghost tour. You all got a flyer. This is Prospect Cemetery's biggest fundraiser for the year. We've only had 5 burials this year, but we are going to have one tomorrow, or Thursday, so that will be 6. And this is the money that we count on to pay our bills and to pay the grass people. All the maintenance and the bills comes from burials, comes from the selling of a lot. If anybody would like to buy a lot, we have lots. Cremation lots, $400. Regular lots, $700. But this ghost tour is our biggest thing that we have going. So I would appreciate if everybody would tell your friends, tell your neighbors, bring your friends, everybody come. All money made that night goes to the maintenance of the cemetery. So I really would like your support. Thank you.
Question, real
Yes.
quick. You said the lot is $700?
Yes,
I was recently at Mount Airy. You know what they charge up
they're
there?
in the thousands.
$3,000. And it's over $3,000 to open and close it.
Yeah.
And ours is $1,550 to open, and a cremation is $750 to open.
And I
Yeah,
would,
that's
And we have
$700
lots.
is cheap, I mean.
yeah, and I just wanted to say, if I haven't told you before, thank you. So when I ran Veterans Affairs for the county, we buried thousands of veterans every year. I went out to hundreds of cemeteries, 200 some odd thousand flags and markers a year. There are so many cemeteries that are in disrepair because they are not funded. People don't pay for them. They don't have a U to take care of them. It's a nice thing that you do for the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll see y'all at the ghost store.
My mom bought me lots.
Oh, and Susan and Brad are going to be ghosts. So come and see your coworkers here.
Mr. Vaughn, I'm going to save you for last.
Shut down.
Hey, you saved this on. I'm going to save you for last. Chuck.
Chuck Izzard, friend of Tarentum. Just a quick comment following up from the water discussion, that the authority ideas are really valid when you have these many small towns all together. And the sewer authority that we are all a part of, Breckenridge, Harrison, East Deer, and Tarentum, is really a good model for that level of utility. I don't think anybody, I haven't heard anybody have any real criticisms of the sewer.
That's what we're modeling a lot of the EMS stuff off of, is a similar concept, because it does work, and it's local, that people know this is functionally how it works, that, you know, the communities get to appoint a board member who gets to oversee, and then these things are for the benefit of the region. I agree.
Well, yeah, the sewer authority has been, in my estimation, so effective. our sewer rates are lower than anybody else's. And when there are state issues in looking for financial support, the state has criticized the sewer authority where you're not charging enough, increase your rates. Well, that's a lousy answer.
Well, they told us the same thing for water, and, you know, and I could make the same argument for electric. So I pay Duquesne light rates where it's 27 cents per kilowatt. Tarentum is paying 17, and West Penn is at 17.2, 17.3, but you also have to balance that with what your residents can afford. And, you know, I don't know that, like, it's easy for the state to come in here and say, raise everybody's rates, but that's why it's local control, to make sure what's affordable. But yes, I think the models, the authorities, are the one potential for long-term solutions for our region.
Thank you, sir. Anything?
Marilyn Pacey, co-owner of Home on 515 East 11th Avenue. We had the water break on Park that impacted the residents, and I just want to say thank you for the timeliness and the efficiency with which it was repaired.
Thank you.
Thank you for thanking us.
We got the best public works guys around, so, excellent. Nothing. Mr. James.
He's already had this.
I was gonna say, you
I
talked.
spoke out of turn anyway.
You did speak out of turn, but we let you.
If you want Jim to go last, let me.
Yeah, I
say
wanted you to
something.
go last.
Okay, Thursday is the anniversary of 9/11. Team Red, White, and Blue, Pittsburgh chapter, Brackenridge American Legion Post 226, and our community will keep the American flag moving in Natrona Heights along Broadview Boulevard from 5:45 in the morning, when a terrorist went through security, to 8:30 at night when President Bush came on TV. Everybody's welcome to carry. We have the flags, both large flags and like the flags on the cemetery, the smaller ones on the graves. The flag exchange point is at Lemparski's Orthodontist, right beside Eaton Park. We have, like I said, we have plenty of flags. The event's free, but we are collecting money in non-perishable items for Allegheny Valley Association of Churches Food Bank and for Eureka Hose Fire Company. And those two entities were selected by Justin McIntyre, Chief Justin McIntyre's family. Okay, this, like I said, this goes on all day. I'll be up there from about 5:30 to 8:30. Okay, and one of the highlights, if anybody wants to go up, is around 5 o'clock to 5:30, the Highlands High School Show Choir, under the direction of Mr. Michael Zeiler, is going to perform the national anthem. So if anybody, and like I said, everybody's welcome. You don't have to sign up. It's, yeah, and it's awesome. We'll have all the refreshments, you know, some sweets and the water and pop and everything. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jim?
I guess I'm last. Wow, all right, I like that. Just give those to you guys. Just pass them down. As Maggie said, I'm part of the Environmental Advisory Committee, which also happens to be your Birdtown Committee, and Tarentum is a bird town. And so we've been discussing a number of different projects that we would like to do, and three that have come up right now that just briefly described that will be on the October agenda for, hopefully for approval, all down at the marina. As mentioned, we have a fishing line recycling bin, just made out of PVC. These get mounted onto a pole. Great little place to put some line in there. Usually there's even a little wooden tamper if you needed to push in with it. We have volunteers lined up. They've got little holes in the bottom so they don't collect water. They will empty them. They get back to Audubon Society, and we send it back to Berkeley for recycling, the fishing line company. Important thing to do because, first of all, as Maggie mentioned, we found some just kind of strewn about the property down there. It does get picked up by other animals. It does not break down in the environment.
birds take it back and weave it into their nest and then get entangled and end up hanging or dying from that. If you throw it in just to a big garbage can, things go in there and take it out, or wind blows it out. So this keeps it controlled. And most fisher people would like to do that, but sometimes convenience isn't there. So just a very easy thing. We're proposing putting 2 in, one down kind of close to the river where it juts out a little bit, the pier. Another one further up, kind of where the parking area is. If you're getting out of a boat or something, it's convenient. Second one would be chimney swift tower. Yes, I'm obsessed with chimney swifts. One of my favorite bird species, but I've talked about them before. We have Tarentum actually has a reasonably good population of them because we have a lot of old homes. These are a unique bird species that needs a masonry or some other rough structure to nest in. We get really big colonies of them up at Grandview, and I'm hoping to do a chimney swift watch this season. 2 years ago, we had 2,500 birds every night swirling around, and all dropped into the chimney within about 3 minutes. Fantastic to see. But the birds are in serious decline because of a lack of nesting. No new home uses a masonry chimney. If they do, it's lined with stainless steel. They need something rough to be able to perch on and nest on. We've been putting these in. You might have, if you're in any of the county parks, we have 100 of them in the Allegheny County Park System, another 60 to 70 of them in other municipal parks, trails, other places. The largest concentration of chimney swift towers in the country, and we do a lot of research around them. Finally, doing a native planting. Big fans of native plants. They're kind of important to the environment, for beneficial insects and pollinators. We were looking at the grassy area off to the side of the parking lot, kind of between the parking lot and Bull Creek, somewhat of a large area. Would like to put in 3 kind of kidney-shaped planting areas, roughly 30 feet by 6 feet each. Would work with Public Works to make sure the dimensions, the radius are good for their equipment to be able to work around them. All 3 of the projects we have funding for, either through Audubon Society of Western Pennsylvania and the funds that we were able to get through the Pittsburgh Foundation for a lot of habitat work, as well as Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. One of our committee members is one of their top field people, and so he has access to trees, plants, and equipment. Between us, we also have all the volunteers to do this. So all 3 projects we can do, won't cost the borough anything, and improve the park area down there. And we have the ongoing team for any of the commitment to it as far as any of the weedings or anything else that would go along with it. Neither the chimney swift tower or the recycling bin are real-time sensitive. Swifts are about to leave. Hopefully, if it's up by next spring, that's great. Planting, we would love to get in this fall. So if it's on the October agenda for the 1st or 2nd week of October, that still gives us time. Fall's the best time to put in native perennials. Get them in there. They're ready to go next spring. So I will send a diagram for this for all of you so you can see it in the next
I was going
agenda.
to say, how big is
I
it?
was just gonna ask you how big.
This is about,
Hey.
this section here is about 12 feet. It sits off the ground about 2 to 3 feet. This is about 18 inches in diameter. We do put what we call a kiosk. There's 4 sides around it. And that enables you to do some graphics about what swifts are, as well as we were thinking of designing one that would describe the plantings. So teach people about those. And I noticed that the sign that's down there for the historic structure and the little thing on it is starting to age out.
The Morehouse.
We've talked about it with Miss Cindy, we've talked about it with the Heritage Museum, we've talked about it with the rec board, because we were all trying to figure out who actually put up the sign originally. And not only that, but the structure that was down there, unfortunately, there was some graffiti and some things that were put on there. In trying to get a hold of the troop that originally erected the stuff and seeing if they're okay with us doing some maintenance on there. Everybody was kind of unsure who did it originally, but everybody seemed to be agreeable to, yes, we if there's no major objections, then I don't see why we wouldn't fix it.
Yeah, well, if you didn't fix it, the other option would be you could just redo the graphics and that could be placed on here and you would get dual
Is
purpose.
that where it's gonna go, down there at the?
It would be down in that area. It doesn't have to go
Yeah.
right there, but it would be in that general area.
There's a bunch of these, there's more than a few of these up in Harrison Hills Park. If you go up on the top part, the whole way down to the end and go around the little loop, you can see these. Yeah, they have them out there.
Roughly
so-
about 4 foot by 4 foot footprint to them.
So the only caveat to all this is we are still in discussion with the state about officially turning over the marina to us. We don't have it yet. I don't think it's gonna matter. I don't think the state's gonna really, if we put up something that's good. So, I mean, if council's cool with it, I'm cool with putting it all over.
You don't have a problem with bats getting in there?
You don't like those.
Yeah, we've actually played around a little bit, putting bat boxes on the side of them to see if that would work. None have done it yet, but we're still playing with that to see if we can encourage. Again, these guys eat nothing but flying insects, so they're kind of good to have around because they're going to eat some of the things that bother us. That's too bad.
Great.
All right. I think the Trentham History and Landmarks is the one that put up that sign and that fort that's down there,
Blockhouse.
the blockhouse.
I know that Deb College's one son repainted the blockhouse for his Eagle Scout Award. So maybe somebody needs an Eagle Scout Award. Take that as a project.
When we talked to them about it, they were willing to
Yeah,
do it for the Eagle Scout. We were just trying to ascertain who was actually legally responsible, and if nobody knows and it's on the property, then I would assume that we can just, I'll talk to solicitor, but I assume there's an avenue for us to formally adopt it, take it, have responsibility for it.
Well, Trentham History and Landmarks for sure put the fort, or whatever that is. They for sure put that up.
Is that you? Are you
Well,
from History and Landmarks?
I was the executive director of that.
Is it,
But it's
defunct?
defunct now.
Okay.
But they are the ones that put that up. Whether they put that sign up or not, I don't know.
Okay.
But for sure that thing,
The blockhouse.
blockhouse.
Okay.
For as much history at Trentham, you don't know that that's the blockhouse.
A blockhouse, I called it a fort.
It's not, it's the blockhouse.
Okay. But if there's no organization to object to us taking care of it, then
No,
we could
because
assume.
they
that
disbanded
somehow, I
in
would assume.
2014.
Okay.
No. No, we could pay.
So they're the ones that put out those little booklets, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With also the placards out in town in certain places, right? There's certain
Yes,
buildings that
yes,
have
yes.
the placards, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All good information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Nothing?
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Good news all around.
Any questions, comments, concerns before I ask for an adjournment at 8:06 PM?
Wow.
Wow, we were done. No wonder I was getting
What, late
sleepy.
night?
Yeah, he just told us.
I missed 1 month. I had things to
Yeah,
say.
I know, you got it. Last month, we were out here like 6:07.
Oh, yeah, 6:07, we were out the door.
You would have need a motion.
Good,
How
you
about
just
6:15?
asked for the motion?
Yes, can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Luann on the second, Ray on the
We're outta
first.
here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Gotta make 8:06.